Alright, Kaladesh is finally online, so we get to draft it. This pack is not very good, so as far as colors goes, I think green is the best. This rare is interesting, but it takes a certain kind of deck to do it. You want a lot of things that puts counters on it, then you can get a 1/1, which can then pick up the counters. But it's not the kind of card I want to start with. On the other hand, there isn't much here. Thriving Group Grubs is a good aggressive card. Armorcraft Judge is probably going to be my pick. It's a 3/3 for 4, which is not great, but it's fine. But if you can draw a single card, it is worth it. Since a 3/3 for 4 that draws a card is a very good card. And there are a certain amount of cards that puts counters. I mean, every card with Fabricate can put a counter on it. It's also Malfunction, but I don't like blue that much. So the Armorcraft Judge and the rare goes in kind of the same deck. The difference is that this has a much lower ceiling. I mean, worst comes to worst, it's a 3/3 for 4. Kind of tempted to take this Giant Sleeve Artisan. It goes great with this card, and it's also a very good card on its own. It's a 3/3 for 3 or a 2/2 that creates a 1/1. Maybe you're in a situation where you want 2 bodies on the board. Maybe you have Inspired Charge. There's also Ether Theorist, which is a good card. I think I'm gonna take the card that works better with my first pick. Also Dai Jung is sweet, but if you don't have any other energy cards, the card is kind of weak. It's like Defeat from Dragons of Turkey. I don't like this rare too much. I think it's too situational. Alright, we have this rare, which is kind of a joke on Collected Company, I guess. I think I'm gonna take Impeccable Timing. I think the card is good. Cheap. Reminds me a lot of Gideon's Reproach from Battle for Zendikar. It is worse, but Gideon's Reproach was pretty good. And I think this kind of effect is better in this format. Since having instant speed is great, this card kills Renegade Fighter. That is a key card that you almost always play against. This is a colorless card. So having to kill that in response to the trigger is huge. And also Battle for Zendikar had a lot of giant creatures. This format's not so much. So take that and this card is sweet, but in the end I don't think it's for me. I think I'm gonna take Pima Outrider. That card is also rock solid, goes great with Armorcraft Judge. And now we have a kind of a Fabricate theme. We can kind of build our deck around that, so we can maybe pick up cards like Inspired Charge. Yeah, I mean, I also like Riparian Tiger. I think the card reminds me a lot of Territorial Bailout from original Zendikar. But Eddie Trailhawk is a fine card, but weaker than my Outrider, I think. Oh, this card. This card is great. It's a 2-drop, which is sweet. It's also a 2/3 for 2 with upside. Can't underestimate that. And yeah, also goes great with my Armorcraft Judge. So I'm looking like a genius now. It's not a great pack. So I think this is going well. Oh, sweet. Yeah, this deck is coming together. We have a plan. Our plan is to play cards that are good on their own, but also have a lot of synergy with mass pump effects. So this is going nicely. Yeah, this is not so great though. I can take Pressure Point. I don't think you usually have room for that card. It's a nice effect, but it does cost you a slot in your deck. The alternative is to take Takedown. Takedown, what a pun. I think Takedown is a good sideboard card, so I'm gonna take it. You don't usually use the 1 damage too often. I mean, if your opponent has like the blue uncommon that creates 2 flyers, maybe. But you usually just use it as a sort of a plummet effect. So I think that's more important than Pressure Point. Alright, I don't like too many of these cards. I take this card over the Eager Construct. I don't like Eager Construct. It's basically just a 2/2 for 2. The ability is symmetrical. It's a little better for your opponent since they get to use the scry first. It's pretty marginal. Basically it's a 2/2 for 2, which is an artifact. But the High Spire Artisan has some synergy if I pick up Inspired Charge. If I don't get Inspired Charge, I will not play this. Okay, I can take Pressure Pump now. I may play it. It's a fine card to push through some damage. This deck looking like it's gonna be pretty aggressive actually with these 3 freeze for 3 or 2 multiple bodies and aggressive cards. Ooh, Blossoming Defense. I think I like that better than Pressure Point. And I take the Nam Nam Cobra, I guess. This rare is still unplayable. Even more so in Limited. In Constructed, maybe, but even then, probably not. But in Limited, no. I can't think of very many worse cards in Limited. I don't know if I'm gonna play this. It depends if I don't really. I like this card much better in a defensive deck, since it basically just trades. Oh, I can take this sweet rare now. I don't really care for these other cards, but I'll take the foil. And it's actually a league, so I pass the blue card right now. It's a new thing about leagues. You wanna actually pass cards that are not in your colors. Since even though I wouldn't be scared about playing against a 2/1 blue creature, there's definitely no way I'm gonna be afraid of someone having that card in a league. I think I'm taking the rare here. That card is pretty sick. So it can attack the turn it comes into play. So you can deal a lot of damage with this card. Also, it's not that hard to crew. I mean, crew 3, crew 2 is pretty easy. So that card is pretty sick. I also like Renegade Fighter. I think that card would be very good in this deck. I wouldn't mind Servo Exhibition. That card will go very well with the Inspired Charge, which I think I want to play with at least one copy. Also, Bomar Bazaar Barge is a sweet card, but I like the Cruiser. The haste is just huge. Also, you don't have to crew it the turn it comes into play, so it can sometimes deal a little extra damage. Alright, so now I have to choose between Giant Sleeve Artisan and Sky Whaler's Shot. They're both very good. So this would make my deck more focused. The Artisan would make my deck way more consistent in what it does, playing a good creature. But I think I already have a lot of solid creatures. I think I really want this kind of effect. If my opponent has like something large, like a Riparian Tiger, it doesn't really matter if I have another Giant Sleeve Artisan. I'm just not gonna get able to punch through. So I think this is a more unique effect that this deck wants. So I think I'm gonna take it, although I would love to get... Oh wow. So now we have another Artisan. We also have this card, which goes very well in our deck. We have a lot of cards that put counters. Right now we have 4 creatures that puts counter on it. It's also Welding Sparks, but I'm not gonna take that over. I could take it to splash, but I'm not gonna take it over a great card in my color. So the Trumpeter has a lower ceiling. It can be as a 2/2 for 3, which is very bad. So I think I'm gonna take the Artisan. There's also the fact that you can make another token. So this is very close, and it's unfortunate that both cards were in the same pack. This is gonna be a theme deck. Hunt the Weak is nice, but I do have 2 kind of removal spells, and this card is insane. I'm gonna pick Inspired Charge over basically everything. Gear Shift Ace is a nice combo with the Cruiser, but I don't think a 2/1 First Strike is so much worse than... So also a good card. This is basically Inspired Charge, but it can also be a huge finisher with Trample, so I think that's a better card. I like the Hawk too, but I don't have too much. I don't have any cards that add energy, so I think this card is a nice effect, since I'm not sure I'm gonna get to an Inspired Charge. And this is depressing. I don't really need this card. I already have so many free drops. This is a 4-drop, I guess. But I guess I hate this card. I never want to play it. I also don't have too much energy, so take this card and maybe I play it. Alright. This card is also a card I wouldn't hate to play, but rather not. Take the green card. Yeah, I think Server Exhibition is gonna be fine in this deck. It also means we have now 10 creatures, since this counts as a creature. So we have 10 creatures, and yeah, I think I like impeccable timing. Deck looking pretty solid. I don't think I have too much more room for non-creature spells. I would probably play one Inspired Charge. I can also cut this Blossoming Defense. It is a sweet card. But I don't think I have room for that card if I were to pick up Inspired Charge. I have some cards in my sideboard that I could main deck, like Pressure Point, Herald of Fair, and Bastion Mastodon. So I'm not hurting for playables. I'm not sure about the Giant Sleeve Artisan's picks. Could have picked different cards, but could have actually had 5. Since I did take a Sky Whaler shot of one, which was I'm very happy about, by the way. Alright, take this card. It's not a great card, it's basically the ooh, nice. I like a 2/1 first strike for 2, which also makes this card basically unbeatable. Take the green card. That was sweet. I was kind of lacking of 2 drops, and this card is a fine card on its own. I'll take the white card. I'm never gonna put that card in my deck though. Never gonna put that card in my deck. Well, it's not a great pack, but I get to pick up a Pima Outrider. I mean, this card is interesting. It means I can get a double servo or double counters on every creature. It's interesting, but nah. I think just having a solid 4-drop, which also goes into my game plan, is gonna be good. Let's just take this card. Alright. I think I'm gonna take the 2-drop here. I like Bomat Bazaar Barge, but the Seed Sculptor is just a really good card. This is close though. This card is just great. But the Barge is also great. This is tough. Yeah. This is a close pick. Alright, I needed the 2-drop. Yeah, still gonna take the 2-drop. Don't need Prophetic Prism, and 5ing Ibex is fine, but again, not too many energy cards. Well, I can take Creeping Mole, deals with artifacts if my opponent has a Sky Sovereign, Council Flagship. There are better options though. There is a common card that destroys and gains 3, that's infinitely better. So having a second takedown could be good. That's really late. Unlicensed Disintegration. So it's either Wild Wanderer, which is not great in this deck, we're not splashing, and we can't really use the extra mana too good. Or we can take the Appetite for Destruction. I always want to call it Appetite for Destruction. The Guns N' Roses album. We only have 19 playables though. We also have Build to Last, but I already have Blossoming Defense. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the sideboard card. Ooh, Snare Topter is gonna be better than Gearshift Ace, I think. I wouldn't mind Gearshift Ace, but I have picked up 2 Seed Sculptors. I don't need a 2-drop too much, and the Snare Topter is just a great card. This deck doesn't have too much of evasion, so I like to have a flyer in my deck if there is some board stall. That's gonna be nice. I'm up to 15 creatures. Yeah, I think I would like 2 more creatures and an Inspired Charge, and then my deck is great. Yeah, I'm getting a little clogged on 4-drops, but this card is still great. Where are all the Inspired Charges, by the way? I haven't seen a single one. That goes wide pretty well. Really happy I picked this card. It's gonna be a key player in my deck. Well, I'm not gonna get any Inspired Charges, so I guess I'm gonna have to a million Impeccable Timings. It's alright. See if I wheel something from my original pack. Can't imagine the Bazaar Boom at the Barge, whatever it's called, is going to wheel. It's a colorless card that's great, so the way my deck shaped up, I think I'm fine with not having another 4-drop. I already have 6 4-drops. By the way, this card is going to be pretty insane in my deck. Pretty good way in a board stall to draw me into my Engineered Might. This deck did not get a Revoke Privileges, so this deck is gonna have problem beating huge creatures. But it's always the possibility of going wide. I think this card's gonna be a key player in my deck. Sorcery Speed is annoying, but if you're going for the win, you're pretty much gonna cast this no matter what, so you lose the surprise factor, but if the goal is to kill the opponent, doesn't really matter. I think I like Fragmentize here. Don't think I'm gonna main deck it, but Wily Bandgaffs. Again, no point in hate drafting. Though take this card, maybe I need it for Pauper. Maybe I need this for Modern, who knows. Taking cards that are worth 100 of a cent, basically. Alright, I think I want to play, I don't think I want to play 18 lands, I think 17 lands is fine. This deck is kind of prone to flooding. So if I had a Inspired Charge, I would play this, but I think it's too defensive for this deck right now. This card is basically as a Grey Ogre. Yeah, I guess I play this card. It can help me sometimes push through damage, and it's a body. Pretty interesting color situation, since I have way more white cards than green cards, but I have 3 double green cards. So I think this is going to be 9 plains, 8 forests. This deck is pretty consistent We'll see if it's gonna be good enough. It's gonna be interesting. No, and Magic Online actually agrees with me here. I think 8 forest is fine since this only has to be on turn 4. Whereas if I get stuck without white mana, I have a lot of white cards I can't cast. So guess there's some argument for pressure points since this deck has problem with large creatures, but Blossoming Defense also in some ways deals with large creatures. Yep, I guess this is my deck, and I will see you in round 1.